the Residents Association has a two-step procedure. The vote comes at the monthly meeting, which is July, whatever it is, the 9th, I think. But the purpose of this preliminary meeting is to get everyone together. When we go back to pre-COVID, it will be around a table to discuss impacts of the proposed project. And as a matter of fact, getting around the table again, I've spoken to the Mariners House and they say that it's available for public meetings. So the next ZLC meeting will be there. But back to this one, the purpose is to have the presenter tell us what they propose to do, and abutters and other community members who have an interest can let us know what the impacts on them are. And the hope is that the proponent and abutters with impacts will get together and talk about them and work them out. I know that this has been going on now for a couple of years, so perhaps those meetings and those discussions have already been taken, but perhaps there's some more that we can do tonight. I hope so. So with that introduction, Steve, would you like to present?
Thank you very much, Victor. We're here concerning 51 North Margin Street. And Victor is correct. Our first abutters meeting was on September 9th, 2019. And at that time, the proposal was for a 9-unit building with 6 parking spaces and a private roof deck for the top floor. There were 8 2-bedrooms and 1 3-bedroom. It was not received well. At that time, the developer went back to the architect and said, we need to totally revamp the proposal. So and at that time, by the way, the violations were FAR, usable open space insufficient, rear yard insufficient, and parking insufficient. So we would have been seeking 4 variances. Since that time, the architects have worked on it with the developer, and the current proposal is for a 4-unit building and 6 floors and 4 parking spaces. The violations are, for some reason, as Victor pointed out, and none of us can quite understand, we were cited for non-conforming use change, which is correct. It's currently a non-conforming use, and we're changing it to an allowed use, so there's no violation. Article 32, Section 32-4, which is groundwater conservation overlay district, and we will comply with that and get the appropriate assurances and sign off from Boston Water and Sewer and the Groundwater Trust. And finally, the Article 54, Section 18, which is the roof structures and building height restriction, which is a conditional use. And I think you're familiar with it, but that's something I'm going to let Bill Paquette, our architect who's on, as he does the presentation, can show you exactly what that is, and that's a conditional use. I can tell you that the developer, Mr. Ferrara, is committed to live in the building. So he will be one of the 4, taking one of the 4 units. And other than that, I think, Bill, why don't you go through your presentation?
Sure. Thanks, Steve. My name is William Paquette. I'm architect, project architect with Pisani and Associates Architects. I have drawings to show tonight and some other images. And do I have, can I share screen? Can everyone see this?
Not yet.
It tells me that my share screen is disabled. Can I have access to share screen, please?
Cheryl? Uh-oh. Are you there, Cheryl?
I'm here.
Go ahead, Bill.
Hi, yes. When I try to share screen, I get a notice that the host has disabled participant screen sharing. So I wonder if I could be allowed to share my screen.
Hold on. Sorry, guys. I'm doing a couple things at once here. There it goes. It should be up.
Okay.
You got it?
Okay. Can everyone see this screen? See the images?
Mhm.
All right.
I can, Bill.
Okay,
can.
good. Well, I'll assume it's visible. So our address is 51 North Margin Street, and I'll zoom in on just a quick location map for anyone who doesn't know exactly where it is. North Margin Street, near Thatcher Street, next to a very large apartment building on to our left, and a 3-unit with garage parking building on our right. Regina Pizzeria is right there in the corner. And this is a photograph of the site. This is our site right here with the currently used as a garage, and the second floor has been used as a dog care facility. These are the buildings across the street, nice brick buildings, 4.5 stories, 5 stories. Once again, our building, the brick has been painted red. Picture of our roof from the neighbors. You can see that our building goes back about 85 feet in an angular configuration with the apartment building next door. This is a survey showing our site. It's about 32 feet wide, about 82 to 84 feet deep. As you can see, we angle into our neighbors there in sort of an odd configuration. We've measured the building, have pretty good, accurate existing conditions. We have a garage on the first floor, the dog care on the second floor. They've since moved out, I believe. It's been empty. Roof plan. So this is our drawing of the existing elevation of the existing building next to our butters on each side. And if I might zoom in on something we show is the triangular actual roof height or building height allowance given the height of the building next door. That's done under the zoning code by calculating a calculation of the height difference with the building on the left above the 55-foot line, multiply it 3 times, draw a diagonal line. This is our actual allowable building height. It's above the 55 feet. So this is our proposed front elevation. Garage entrance at the ground floor, which we've trying to make wider than the existing. North Margin's a narrow street. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 stories of apartments. The top floor is 1 apartment. We have a partial story there for the 6th story. This is an overlay of the shadow of the existing building, just to show the existing relative to what we propose in terms of height. As you can see, we're very similar in height to the building on the right. That's 49 North Margin, and we're shorter than 10 Thatcher Street to our left. Bird's eye view of what we propose. You can see we have we go back towards the building courtyard in the rear, but what we've done, and I can show you what we were before compared to what we are now. We've tried to stay away from these windows, these apartments, to not block those windows from light and air. That's another view of the rear of the building. Floor plans, we propose a small basement in the front just for mechanical purposes. We have an elevator, so we need an elevator machine room, the elevator pit. First floor, garage entrance here off North Margin Street, parking for 4 cars. We're allowing for turnaround space so that the cars can leave going forward. We think that's a little better. So we have the entrance to the units, this part, this side of the plan with an elevator and a stair, and a second egress stair on the other side. So we have our required 2 means of egress. Since we have no exit from the rear of the site, we have to get our 2 exits out to the street at North Margin. This is the second floor plan. What we're proposing to do is to remove the existing roof from the existing building, leave the perimeter wall that's existing here around the site, and build up, use the existing second floor, leave that in place. It's a nice concrete, it's a very strong floor. We can go up from there. So this is the unit 1 on the second floor. It's 1,300 square feet, 2 bedroom, 2 bath. There's a study, and we propose where we've removed the roof and we have open sky. We're proposing potential some roof garden potentially and some deck space for this unit. Going up, the units are similar. 2 bedrooms. They have a bedroom here in the front on the street, bedroom in the back, study in the back, living space in the front looking out on North Margin with a kitchen, open living, the 2 stairs and an elevator. 4th floor, similar. These units on the second and third and fourth floor are a little bit bigger. We don't have the stair from the ground floor, so they're about 1,400 square feet each. And the top unit 4 is a duplex unit. Once you enter the unit, we cut back in the back so we don't have as much building in the back of the site. And we take that additional bedroom and study and bathroom and put it up on the roof against the other building, which is taller than ours. There's a roof plan. Roof plan shows mechanical units on the high roof. Again, we look at the 3-dimensional view of the back of the site, and again, our front elevation. I also have a comparison chart of where we were. I think Steve's described it already. We originally had 9 units, and we originally we're proposing about 1,300, almost 1,400 or 14,000 square feet construction with the FAR of 5.1. The owner said, make a design that's code compliant with the zoning code, which we've endeavored to do. So now we're at about 8,200 square feet of construction, and with a compliant FAR. We've also put together the drawings we originally did. This is the originally proposed project. As you can see, it's much bigger and goes much further back in the site. We've cut it way down so we've unblocked the view from these windows. And this was another bird's eye view looking down into the rear of the site. And we've opened it all up to give light and air. So to code comply with the FAR, we've maintained the height and massing towards the front of the site and tried to empty out the rear of the site. And I must point out that this is the top of the existing brick wall that's there now. So we take the roof off, and that gives us some volume to empty out, and that's used as open space in the back. So that's the presentation. That's the building, and so I'll turn it back over to you.
Thanks, Bill. Turn it over to you, Victor. That's our proposal.
Okay. Well, the usual feature is, are there abutters who have questions or
Yeah, I
comments?
can open your mics. Can people put their hands up or click the button? Put your hand up, or okay. Jeff, hold on one second. I'm going to open your mic. There you go. Okay, Jeff, I just click. Oh, there you go. You're open.
Can
Go
you
ahead.
hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead, please.
My name is Jeff Stoneberg, and I purchased the Vermont building, which is a landmark building, listed on the National Register of Historic Places and a real gem in the North End. It's listed because of its history. In the Vermont Marble Company that built the building and owned it was the supplier of the marble to the Jefferson Memorial and the U.S. Supreme Court, among other buildings. And the architect is a very famous architect who's done other notable buildings in Boston. I purchased the building in 1983 when it was a hulk, boarded up, broken windows, awful. Water had run through the building. The floors were all destroyed. There was not much to it besides the frame and the beautiful structure that you see. And I made it into a useful building. David Nielsen is the abutter on the other side, and he's done some details that relate to the plans. And basically, I commend the architects and the developer for cutting the project down. But to be very frank about it, the original project was totally outrageous, just ridiculous. And so to compare this to the ridiculous is really an inaccurate comparison. The issue is that this project, or any project, is not supposed to infringe adversely on its neighbors. And this one does, in reality, in some meaningful ways. Take a look at the decks, and David will show you this in his statement. The decks, the edges of the decks are only feet from the window, the living rooms and bedrooms.
Can you put the decks back up? Can you put the decks back up so people can see it, Bill? Or Stephen? Go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to be able to see the decks.
They're only, if you go down to so they're literally just a few feet from the windows of the living rooms and the bedrooms and there are 22 apartments in that building that actually face onto the back of this development. I mean, it's a very, very significant impact. And, one of the big concerns is noise. I mean, the potential for noise, because if you take a look at that, they're closing in on a square of hard surfaces that becomes an echo chamber. And we don't have any outdoor space there that's going to generate sound, but they do. And we only have 2 panes of glass between us and anything that they want to generate. And they said that what they want to do is to put some notes in the deed. But you know something? What are we going to do when somebody goes out there and decides to play a radio or something like that, or have a party? What are we going to do? Sue them? I mean, that's really ridiculous. The way to solve that is to not have the problem in the first place. So I would like them to pull back their decks away from the building and to do something the best they can to try to insulate us from the sounds and to give us some privacy, please. I mean, we wouldn't infringe on their privacy, but they would infringe on ours. So that's really my big problem. The other issue that I'm concerned about is I don't know who the developer is. Tonight is the first time I've heard of the name of the developer. He has not appeared. What they're doing is they're trying to get this thing zoned before they actually have to deal with the realities of it. And there are some real issues. For example, I don't think that the building really conforms very well to its environment. The design of the building at the front of the building is unlike anything in the immediate neighborhood. And I don't think it conforms very well. I think that it clashes with a Vermont building, which if you compare it to the building on the other side, it's fine. I mean, it's different, but it's fine. I think that it does not take into account the constraints of the site. It seems to me as though, given the fact that it's all over us, the execution of this development is going to be a big problem for us. And I'm also concerned about the inadequacies in the presentation with respect to groundwater conditions. They're going to excavate down right next to my building. And the detail that they provided is scant. There are different ways to do piles, and there's a big difference in terms of a pile that's not a problem for us versus a problem that might very well be a problem for us. David Nielsen, when he did his project, he had it properly supervised with engineers. He coordinated with me. He put in the best piling system. We had no problems. We actually had no problems from his construction at all. But the developer hasn't gotten involved here. So I don't know what we're dealing with. They're going ahead and they're getting this approval when in reality, there are other issues that ought to be considered and part of this process before an approval is granted. That's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Who else would like to speak? I'm going to scroll. Just put your hand up on your screen and I'll, David, I'm going to open your mic. David Nielsen, you're open.
Thank you. Jeff Stoneberg just spoke mainly about what we were going to discuss. I just wanted to show a couple images that I have. I'm the abutter at 49 North Margin, and I built the 3-unit building that had been Capilupo's livery service for our building. Our building was also as of right.
Bill, can you take your drawing down so that he can share?
Oh,
all right.
I'm not sharing. Actually, it's just on my screen. If you can just look at the image.
Okay. Yep.
So I just wanted to show the back of the building, which is where the impact is from the proposed building, and it becomes it's an issue because it's just an odd configuration of buildings in that the Vermont building, it has kind of a C shape at the rear with 51 North Margin kind of busting into the middle and actually touching in 2 spots the Vermont building. So what I've done is, this is a picture above. You can see there are 22 apartments. These aren't just rear windows. These are actually living room and bedroom windows, because these are front facing. It's a double loaded corridor in the Vermont building. So these are actually the fronts to 22 units. What I did was I overlaid Bill Paquette's drawings to show the location of where they're proposing the decks. So you can see the first deck is actually down 1 level. These are all just going to be on 1 level, but it just shows the relationship to the windows. At one point, it's about 4 feet away from a living room window in the Vermont building. And there may be a solid wall that has openings there, but it's open to the air. So any noise that's generated down here, all of these neighbors are going to hear. And that's our concern. The second unit up, here's the deck here. It's, I believe, about 16 feet from the windows here, or it may be a little less. A third deck is here again, and again, they're stepping up, but it's still within this C shape of the building. And again, this is all hardscape. There's nothing to absorb the sound. And then the fourth deck is still within the C shape here. I applaud the architects for coming up with something that is as of right, that conforms to the zoning. They're decent sized units. You know, everybody has opinions about aesthetics, that's fine. This to me is a real concern. And in our conversations, Jeff Stoneberg and I, we'd prefer the developer to seek a variance for the open space requirement and just eliminate these decks. It doesn't change the units at all, but it's going to avoid in the long term, even the short term, conflicts between all of these neighbors and anybody who's out here on any of these decks. So it's a conflict that can be avoided without changing the building. And that was all.
Thank you.
I'll cover that.
Bill, Stephen, do you want to speak to that, or should I move on to the next question?
It would be best if you hear from everybody and then Bill can respond to some of that and I'll respond to some.
Sounds good. Okay. I'm looking to see if anybody else has a hand up. Dave Kubiak, hold on. I'm opening your mic, Dave.
Hi, Dave Kubiak. I live on Cleveland Place, which is a bit of a distance, though not much from this site. But I recently experienced the impacts, and will always, as long as I'm living here, continue to experience the impacts of a similar project right across Cleveland Place, which is a very narrow street. When number 4 was completely demolished, and then it was a 3-story structure, and then a brand new 5-story structure was constructed. We went through hell, absolute hell, for a year and a half of construction. And I lost a lot of sunlight. I am a tenant. I lost a lot of sunlight, and I also have lost quite a bit of privacy, and there isn't any privacy in the back. So whatever privacy I had in the front is now gone. So I can appreciate the feelings of those who own or live adjacent to this proposed project. I'm not sure how much information was provided in the abutters meeting or separately, individually to abutters, but the information provided tonight is inadequate with respect to how demolition will be conducted, how construction will be conducted, the duration of those activities, the impacts to abutters of those activities, which will be severe for a very long time. And also what hasn't been addressed well enough, except by the owner of the Vermont building, in part, the issues related to the most important zoning issue, and that is Article 5418, which gets at the impacts to abutters. So I would like to see a lot more information on the construction, how it's going to be done, how long it's going to take, demolition, how long that'll take, how you're going to protect what I believe are wood piles surrounding this, old wood piles surrounding this parcel. And also, I'd like you to address the issues associated with Article 5418. The other thing that bothers me about the project, and I do applaud the developer and architects' work changes to remove the zoning violations, but I'm not a fan of the bay window bump outs in the front. These units seem to be very large, especially relative to other units in the north end. And you don't need the extra floor area from those bump outs. I don't believe they provide, in my personal opinion, they don't provide any architectural enhancement compared to all the old buildings along that street, which I think are beautiful buildings. And what those bump outs do is just add even more massing, more weight to the street on top of the weight that's going to be imposed by the additional floors. That's it.
Thank you, Dave. Would anyone else like to speak? Damien, I'm going to open your mic.
Hey, everyone, how are you? I'm here to support this project, and I'd like to give you a couple of reasons why. First off, Mr. Stomberg, I mean, that's great that you bought the building so many years ago and you fixed it and you redeveloped it into 88 apartments, rentals. So that's great that you did that. And it's really ironic and funny that Mr. Ferrara wants to do the same thing, turn a decrepit eyesore into a nice building with nice homes in it. 4 apartments, one of which he's going to live in. Mr. Ferrara is a resident and he will continue to be a resident and be on property. So, I mean, I have issues with someone trying to stop someone from building a home, living in it. And it's just crazy that, you know, you have 88 rentals there, which means that, you know, you're saying that you're concerned about other neighbors and residents. Well, 88 apartments is a possible 88 parking spaces. And it's a lot of noise. And these people are renters. They don't live there. They could leave tomorrow. They could leave next week. I've been following this project. I was on the other board in the neighborhood. And they have bent over backwards for these 2 abutters who are constantly complaining. And I don't know if both abutters live in the neighborhood. If they don't, I don't know how much time they spend in the neighborhood. But let me tell you, any time of the day, I will take someone who is developing in my neighborhood, who's going to live there, and who's providing parking. They've done all the studies. They've gone from 9 units to 4 units. They've recessed the building back. To think that someone's going to spend all that money to buy a condo, not rent. As far as I know, these are for sale. And they're going to go in that little patio area in the back, and they're going to start yelling and screaming and playing loud music. I mean, I think that, you know, this is just getting to a point of, it's just really petty when they're putting up a beautiful building. They are not asking for anything. They've bent over backwards to appease their abutters. And personally, I, you know, would hope that your board would consider all this, that this is people living in this neighborhood, not people that are complaining from Marblehead or wherever they live. I have no idea. You know, a lot of us live in this neighborhood, and let me tell you, that building is an eyesore. And to try to prevent someone from building a nice home there for himself and to sell the 3 units, not rent, sell. That's all I have to say. And I hope you got, by the way, Mr. Ferrara is in his 70s. I don't know if everybody realizes that. And he just wants to make himself a nice home.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Paula, you're up. I opened your mic.
Hello.
Your mic is open.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Giancarlo Tiberi. I was actually on the North End Waterfront Neighborhood Council for many years.
And you are a resident in the North End?
I'm sorry?
Are you a resident in the North
I
End?
am not a resident of the North End. I own and operate a real estate company, a development company, as well as a property management company, all based out in the North End. My office address is 278 North Street. I'm in the old Al's Toys.
Okay, well, what we normally do is let abutters go first, but go ahead. That's okay, you go now, but
I apologize.
That's okay, just please go. Your mic is open, but for everybody else, let's let the abutters go first, but please go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry to anyone that I took. I'll make it short and quick.
Go right ahead.
I've also been following this project for a while. I did see the scale to the first project. I commend architect Mr. Paquette for scaling it down. I think he did a great job. And obviously, when you see a gentleman like that on a project with Pizzani and Associates, which is a top tier firm, as well as Attorney Miller, I think there's always a sense of relief when you see the gentlemen that are up in front of ZBA every day. When you have them on a project, I think that gives me always a lot of confidence. And I know Mr. Kubiak had questions about, you know, how demo and how the project was going to proceed. I think the gentlemen that are involved in the project, obviously the last thing they want to do is be bad neighbors, number one. I know them personally. I also know Attorney Miller and Mr. Paquette. And I feel like obviously they're going to do a great job in regards to the actual demolition, the scope, and the redevelopment of the property as well. Hand in hand with what Mr. DePaula said, the building itself now is pretty unsightly. I think basically what they're looking to do is, the highest and best use at the same time while appeasing the neighbors and the neighborhood itself. I know for my time on the council, it's always about, like we said, it's obviously to be a good neighbor, to do a project that's going to not only just put a building plot that's going to not look nice, or it's going to make a lot of people mad or inhibit their way of life and whatnot, but it's really to put something that's going to complement the neighborhood as well as to better what is on the site already, so
Thank you.
and I just want to say that I think it's, I'm glad that they scaled back the project. I think it is a great project, and I know they're going to do a great job. And they're obviously, if they haven't given the full scope, I know they will with this team that's involved in this project.
Okay, thank you. Again, I'm going to start opening mics. I see a bunch of hands up. Tell us your name. Tell us where you live in the North End. If you are not a resident, an abutter, I'm going to ask you to wait until later in the meeting. First person I'm going to open, I'm just going to do it off the list of participants. I see Massimino. That's all I see here.
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please give us your name and tell us that you live in the North End.
100%. My name is Paul Demori. I do not live in the North End, but I am an immediate abutter, owning 84 North Margin Street and 205, 207 Endicott Street, where Massimino's is held. I have been in the neighborhood for 50 plus years. I actually grew up in front of the Vermont building, which is a beautiful, beautiful structure. I love it. That gentleman has done a wonderful job with that building. And all I want to say is that, basically, if you own a property in the North End, because we're talking about the North End, you should have the right to develop that property. And as long as it's done using the zoning codes, I don't think there'd be any problems. And knowing Mr. Ferrara and his background, I don't see where there'll be any problems. And, I strongly support it. It'd be a place for him to rest his head with his family. I'm sure it'll be a beautiful project because at the end of the day, people that are from the neighborhood want to see only good happen in the neighborhood. So I'm in fully support of the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay. I'm going to open up Alyssa.
Hi.
Please
Hi.
tell us your name and where you live in the North End.
It's I'm speaking for my mother-in-law, Natalina Tizzano. She's 79 North Margin Street. She's a direct abutter, and we're here to support the project. I too was on the neighborhood council many years ago, and I just want to piggyback on what Damien and Giancarlo and Paul Demori said. I agree mostly that there's going to be an owner-occupied building. That's the main issue in this neighborhood. I live in a building now with 13 units, and I am one of 2 owner-occupied units in the building. It's an issue. So for a 4-unit development, I don't see there being too much of an issue, considering next door is there's 80 units. And I, no offense, have been to numerous parties in the Vermont building. But that being said, I think that concessions were made. They've definitely scaled back, and that knowing Vinny and the developer, they will help. They will do what's asked for to make the project beautiful and an asset, because it's an eyesore right now. So I'm just here to support me and my mother-in-law. So thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Tony, I am going to open your mic.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so my name is Tony Gilardi. I am a lifelong resident of the North End. I have a real estate company, Gibson Sotheby's, on Baldwin Place, so I am almost an abutter. I do live on Fulton Street, so I'm a little bit further away, but I do understand projects, and I do respect Jeff, who owns the Vermont building, where I have rented many units there for many years. And I would like to remind him that this neighborhood gave him a wonderful opportunity without the restraints that are in place today to renovate and prosper in his location. And I am I have a lot of respect for him, and I have a lot of respect for the way that he conducted his business. The building next door, which Mr. Ferrara is now in process of renovating this potentially wonderful piece of property, is in deplorable condition. I have been in this property, and my fear is if there is nothing done on this site in a very timely manner, it will pose more of a problem to the community and the abutters than it would as a gorgeous renovated owner-occupied piece of property. I've been in the property. There are holes in the floor. There are leaks everywhere. The building is at risk of really like being condemned if it's not already. So I think that this building needs to be renovated. We have a wonderful neighbor and lifelong resident of the North End who is willing to go in there and work very closely with the abutters and be very respectful of his neighbors and conduct himself in a very professional manner as his attorneys and architects and his developers will proceed. And I am definitely in favor of this project. I think that anything that he can build there will be a much better project than what exists. And I do understand that they have been extremely respectful to the abutters, and they're listening to the concerns of the neighbors. And noise is always a problem in this neighborhood, but I think that we can work with the developers and the architects and the neighbors to get this project built. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tony. Paul, I am going to open your mic.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Cheryl, thank you for giving me the time to share on this. Like Mr. Miller pointed out at the beginning
Can you please tell us if you live in the neighborhood, where you live, what street?
I'm a lifelong resident, don't live in the neighborhood. I have an office space in 60 Commercial Wharf East, where I too am a real estate agent and help developers navigate through the ZBA and through situations like this. And so I engaged with with Mr. Ferrara about 2 months ago and went out on a neighborhood outreach where I found a lot of lifelong residents and people who have bought recently in the neighborhood in support of this project for many reasons. When explained to them that this thing kicked off in 2019 and the concessions that were made in regards to this project, like myself, many of the people that I spoke to feel that the team in place has done everything they can to appease the abutters, the abutters on this call and other abutters on the street. So as we discussed, this is as close to an as of right project as you can find. I feel like I think somebody else alluded to on the call is that if someone owns a piece of property in the neighborhood, they should have the right to build on it, especially as of right. I don't think Mr. Miller or his team is requesting any variances for this project. And so I just don't see what the issue is. Again, the gentleman who owns 80 units next door, like other people have talked about, has been a lot of the ability to prosper in this neighborhood. I know he doesn't live in this neighborhood. Mr. Ferraro will be owner occupying next door. And I just think that he has the right to build a piece of property where he can reside in. When you're born and raised in the North End, you always think about owning a piece of property, especially if your family has never owned it. Now, I'm not sure if that's Mr. Ferrara's case. I know it was my when I was growing up, I know people who own buildings, and I always thought, wow, that would be pretty cool. And here's an opportunity that Mr. Ferrara can actually own a building and actually live in it. I think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I'd like to talk about some of the issues that were brought up by the gentleman next door who owns the 80 units in regards to noise. Growing up around here, it just becomes part of the neighborhood. You open up your window, you're able to speak to somebody next door. You're able to just communicate, through the window, and it just, it just becomes part of it. When you move down to the city and you move into this neighborhood, that's just a way of life. That's just how things are. And again, I don't consider these issues, and so here we are with a footprint that's in compliance, and I'm in full support. I think John Collins mentioned it as well, is that the team in place, especially the developer, will if granted permits, will go through the city's due process. Will dig and be safe and do everything necessary to make sure that no one's affected. And so I don't think this is any different than any other project that's been approved in the past. And so I just wanted to make sure my voice was heard, and that I'm full support.
Thank you very much. Kim, I am opening your mic. Kim, you have to, there you go. You're all set.
Oh, you live in the North End. And every time I walk by Regina's Pizza, I see this SOAR building. And I think with this project, it would make the neighborhood much beautiful. I think it's a great idea. I think the architects and the builder would do a great design with the plan.
Well, thank you very much. Are there any more questions? I'm going to just go through if anybody wants to put their hand up. I'm just looking to see. Okay, hang on. I'm going to open your mic. You are named Scene on here, but please give us your name and tell me where you live. Okay, you should be open.
I'm Christian Silvestri. I'm part of the development team. And I just wanted to address a couple concerns and things that I heard with Mr. Stormberg earlier.
Please do.
He had mentioned that he has not met the developers. A few months back, Attorney Miller, Bill Paquette, Anthony Paisani, Mr. Ferrara, myself, and Richard Marchese had all met with Mr. Stormberg. And we specifically went over the plans and the ideas we had for the property. At that time, we had a verbal acceptance, with the exception of wanting us to do a shadow study. We had provided a shadow study. We were then asked to do an acoustic study. We've done an acoustic study, and we have done everything that we were asked. And then above that, we've pulled back the 10 feet. We put acoustic screens around the decks because we thought that that may help the visual aspect and retain some of the acoustic noise that would be held within on the decks themselves. We also have the contract. I know demolition came up. Testa Construction, which is one of the biggest demolition contractors in the city of Boston. They were involved with the big dig. They're more than capable. They're bonded, and they've done the matter of fact, they're doing the Charlestown Bridge right now up the street. And they're more than capable to handle this demolition without any problem. So we have them on board. So just to reiterate that we all have met, and we've gone over and above any expectations that we were asked.
Thank you very much. Would anybody else like to ask a question, have something that they'd like to talk about? I'll click through again, see if anybody's hand is up physically. I do not see anyone.
Cheryl, I have a question if no
Yes,
one else
of course.
does.
Yes, please, Victor.
Sure. A question, I guess, of excavation was mentioned by a commenter. Can you tell us, Bill, what kind of excavation is needed? I know you said something about a heavy concrete slab, but is there going to be excavation below that? Or tell us a little bit about what's going to happen.
Sure. Our intention is to, for the new construction, which goes above the second floor slab, the new construction will be supported by new structure that either is supported at or through that slab and goes to new footings in the garage or just below the garage area. Now, we've talked to a geotechnical company about doing some borings or trenching and discovering more about the existing foundations. And when we get that information, we'll do the appropriate thing. We're not going to just start digging to build without full knowledge of what's below the surface. We realize that the land is not original land. It's on the edge of the Mill Pond area. There's fill, and we've had some discussions with our neighbor David, who built this building, and he has stories to tell about his foundations. But we'll be gathering information. We'll have a good team, professionals, conforming to the best practices. And before we do anything, designing our foundations, we'll examine what the soils are, and also what sort of existing foundations exist. We're not going to do anything that will damage the existing buildings on either side, certainly.
Okay, and another question I have is about demolition. My understanding is that in order to be within the zoning code, you're not demolishing the building because that springs other issues into effect. That is, it's a building that existed at whatever date it is. So what demolition is involved in the project as you envision it?
Well, I think if you're referring to section 5418, as you can
Yes.
see, we've been cited for that, and we'll be looking for the conditional use that the zoning board can grant. In terms of demolition, we intend to demolish. So, like I say, we take off the roof, leave the existing walls in the rear and the sides, and also remove the existing facade, the existing brick. And we'll put new brick wall up the front as well. But we intend to leave the second floor in place. It's a concrete floor. It's very strong. I believe that the building was originally designed with a car lift and was used for parking, storage of cars. I think it's very well designed. Our structural engineer tells us we can leave it. So that's what we intend to do, is to basically demolish the roof and the front facade.
Well, what I was getting at is I thought that in order to make it as of right, you were getting away from this provision in 5418, which is the height of any building existing as of June 24, 1985 shall determine the allowed building height on that lot subsequent to total or partial demolition or destruction of such building. So if you are going to do partial demolition, it looks as though that provision of 5418 springs into effect. But if you are as of right, it doesn't. So I wonder if you or Steve Miller can clarify that for me.
So we're removing the skin in the front, and we're removing the roof, which we'd have to remove to build up anyway. So it's not demolition. The bones of the building will still be in place. The second floor is still in place. So the term demolition really doesn't apply. We're removing the skin of the front and we're removing the roof, which is not demolition. And that's what the building department is aware of, and that's how the building department interpreted it.
And those were shown on the plans that were filed
Correct.
with the application for the building permit?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, does anyone have
I
anything?
have
else?
nothing further. No, thanks, Cheryl.
Okay. A few next steps, Victor?
Well, as you know, as everyone knows, this is not a a voting meeting. It is a meeting to raise issues and have them addressed perhaps before the voting meeting. So if there's nothing further, I guess we will conclude this meeting.
And this will be on the agenda at NEWRA's July 8th meeting, which will be on Zoom at 7 p.m. Thursday, July 8th. And it will be a vote,
And that
membership.
will be for a vote.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for your time. We appreciate
We'll
the
see
ability
you.
to.
We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Oh, I should say, Steve said that he would answer questions when he was asked if he wanted to answer. He said, wait until they're all in. Is there anything that you'd like to say, Steve?
No, I think it's a pretty good response from everyone, and some of the issues are raised. We'll be prepared to maybe answer some of those questions if they come up again a little bit further. I think Bill answered most of the issues as far as the team that's been brought in for to give us the consultants and specialists to give us those answers. So Bill's much more adept at it than I am, but we'll be prepared to further answer those again.
Terrific. Thank you very much, everyone. And
Thank you.
we'll see you on July 8th, and have a great 4th of July. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Yep.
The meeting is adjourned.